My friends, tonight we gather not just to debate two men, not just to rank who might be number one or number two in some contest of corruption, greed, and arrogance. We gather to remind ourselves of something far greater, the power of people over the grip of so-called devils. Now, I know you've heard it before. You've seen leaders like Modi in India and Trump here in America put themselves above the people. You've seen them divide neighbors, exploit communities, and trade compassion for power. And yes, they feed off our nations like devils at a feast. But here's the truth: the real power never lived in Modi. It never lived in Trump. It never lived in any one man who claimed he alone could fix everything. The power has always lived with you, the people who refuse to surrender to fear, the people who stand up to injustice, the people who say, enough. When my administration comes forward, when we fight for a cleaner America, when we fight for an India free of corruption and division, it will not be about me chasing away devils. It will be about us building a future where devils have no place to hide. Because hope is stronger than fear, unity is stronger than division, and the light of people, the light of democracy, is stronger than any so-called devil that seeks to cast a shadow over our nations. So I ask you tonight, let us rise above the devils of our age. Let us rise with courage. Let us rise with compassion. Let us rise with hope. And together, let us write a story where America is renewed, India is redeemed, and our world belongs not to the darkness of devils, but to the dignity of human beings who dare to believe in better. Thank you. God bless you. And may God bless the struggle for truth and justice everywhere. My friends, let me begin with the title itself. The Great Devil Debatee, Modi No. 1, Trump No. 2. Now, some of you may smile, some may shake your heads, but I want you to understand why this framing matters. Because when we call it a debate, we are not just talking about two men standing on a stage. We are talking about a battle for the soul of our nations. A battle between truth and deception, between service and selfishness, between the better angels of our nature and the devils that seek to corrupt them. Now, when people ask me, Barack, why call them devils? Why frame it this way? I remind them that sometimes in politics and history, we need language strong enough to awaken people from their slumber. If I simply say, these men made mistakes, the world shrugs. But if I say, these men behave like devils, consuming the spirit of their people, feeding off division, hunger, and fear, then suddenly we realize the urgency. Because a devil is not just wrong, a devil is dangerous. And when danger comes knocking, we don't whisper, we don't hide, we stand up. So let us take this title seriously. Modi No. 1, Trump No. 2. Some may argue about the order. Some may ask, why rank them at all? But the point, my friends, is not the scoreboard. The point is the sickness. It is about recognizing that whether it is Modi in India or Trump in America, their brand of politics is not about lifting people up. It's about breaking people down. It's about treating nations as though they are trophies for one man's ego instead of homes for millions of human beings. The title, in its sharpness, is a mirror held up to show us how far we have drifted from the values we claim to honor. It forces us to ask, if we know who the devils are, what are we going to do about it? Will we laugh at the headline, shake our heads, and go back to our lives? Or will we say, yes, the devils are real, but our unity, our hope, our democracy is stronger than their greed. That is why I frame it as a debate. Because in a debate, there are two sides. And tonight, it is not just Modi or Trump on one side and me on the other. No, on one side stand the forces of greed, corruption, hatred, and fear. On the other side stand you, the people, armed not with wealth or armies, but with the truth, with courage, with compassion. So remember, this title is not a joke. It is not a headline for clicks. It is a call to awareness, a call to action, a call to recognize that when devils try to dominate the story of our nations, we must write a new chapter. A chapter where the debate is not about which devil is worse, but how humanity itself can rise above devils altogether. That, my friends, is the meaning of this great devil debate. My friends, I have often said that words matter. The way we speak shapes the way we think, and the way we think shapes the way we act. That is why, when I speak, I do not simply string sentences together. I try to build rhythm. I try to create a rising movement. Because our struggle is not just logical, it is emotional, it is spiritual. And when we face so-called devils like Modi or Trump, it is not enough to argue with statistics or policies. We must speak in a way that awakens the human spirit. Now you've heard me use phrases like, let us rise, or my friends, or the power belongs to you. These are not accidents, they are calls to belonging. They are reminders that we are in this together. Modi will tell Indians they are divided by religion or caste. Trump will tell Americans they are divided by race or by party. But I will tell you something else. We are united by humanity. We are united by dignity. We are united by a hope that is stronger than any line that politicians draw between us. When I say, less we can, it is not just a slogan. It is a rebuke to every devil that whispers, no, you can't. When I say, hope is stronger than fear, it is not poetry. It is a weapon against the machinery of hate. That is why I speak the way I do. Because language is not just communication, it is liberation. Think about the way devils speak. Think about Trump, whose words are sharp but shallow, designed to insult, to provoke, to belittle. Think about Modi, whose words may sound grand, but carry a poison that seeps into communities, turning neighbor against neighbor. Contrast that with the words of hope. Contrast that with the words of unity. My friends, when we speak with truth, with compassion, with dignity, we cut through the noise of devils and give people a melody worth singing. So, yes, style matters, rhetoric matters, not because it makes speeches pretty, but because it gives people courage. It tells the single mother who is struggling that she is not alone. It tells the farmer in India who feels forgotten that he is seen. It tells the young student who dreams of change that he has the right to dream. In the end, my style is not about me. It is about you. It is about how together, through words, we build a movement that devils cannot silence. That is why rhetoric is not decoration. It is defiance. It is democracy in action. And it is how we turn despair into determination, fear into faith, and division into the strength of a united people. Now let us talk plainly about leadership, because leadership at its core is service. It is sacrifice. It is about lifting others higher than yourself. But what happens when leadership becomes self-worship? What happens when leaders treat nations as though they are mirrors reflecting only their own face? That, my friends, is when leadership becomes a curse. Look at Modi. He stands not as a servant of India, but as a ruler who believes India exists to serve him. He wraps himself in the flag, but forgets the people beneath that flag. He says he is the protector of the nation, but what he really protects is his own image. That is not leadership, that is vanity. Look at Trump. He came to power not to unite Americans, but to divide them. He saw pain not as a problem to solve, but as an opportunity to exploit. He fed on the anger of the forgotten, not to heal their wounds, but to keep them wounded so they would keep following him. That is not leadership, that is manipulation. My friends, true leadership does not feast on division, it heals it. True leadership does not inflate the ego of one man, it uplifts the dignity of every citizen. When I led America, I never claimed perfection. I never claimed to be the only one who could fix it. I reminded you that the journey would be long, that progress would be hard, but that together, yes, we can. Modi and Trump show us the opposite. They remind us what happens when leaders think they are bigger than the people they serve. They turn democracy into theater, truth into fiction, and power into poison. They may wear the clothes of leaders, but inside they are tyrants in disguise. So let us be clear, this critique is not about personality. It is about principle. Leadership without humility is tyranny. Leadership without compassion is cruelty. Leadership without service is selfishness. That is what Modi and Trump embody. That is why we call them devils. Because they take the sacred gift of leadership and twist it into something ugly. And my friends, we must demand better. We must demand leaders who kneel before the people, not demand that people kneel before them. We must demand leaders who see power as a trust, not as a trophy. We must demand leaders who measure greatness, not by how many enemies they create, but by how many lives they lift. That is the critique. That is the truth. And that is why the future of our nations depends on rejecting false leaders who serve themselves and embracing true leadership that serves us all. My friends, I want to speak directly to you about power. Because for too long we have been told a lie. The lie that power belongs only to the few, to the president, to the prime minister, to the billionaire, to the strongman. Modi wants Indians to believe that without him, the nation is weak. Trump wants Americans to believe that without him, the country will collapse. But let me tell you tonight that is not true. It has never been true. The power has never belonged to Modi. The power has never belonged to Trump. The power has never belonged to any so-called devil who claims to own the destiny of a people. My friends, the power has always belonged to you. To the farmers who rise at dawn to feed their neighbors. To the teachers who shape young minds. To the workers who build. To the nurses who heal. To the mothers and fathers who raise children with love and sacrifice. That is where real power lies. And that is what devils fear most. They fear empowered people. They fear citizens who know their worth. Because once the people realize their strength, no strong man can control them. No devil can devour them. Now, some of you may ask, Barack, if the power belongs to us, why do these devils keep winning? Why do they keep rising? And the answer is this, because too often we forget our strength. Too often we stay silent when we should speak. Too often we stay home when we should vote. And too often we allow fear to whisper louder than hope. But let me remind you tonight, history is filled with moments when the people rose. When ordinary men and women said enough. In India, when millions stood for independence. In America, when voices rose in the civil rights movement. Those victories did not belong to one man. They belonged to the people who refused to bow. So the lesson is simple. If we are waiting for another savior, another single leader to rescue us, we will wait forever. But if we recognize that we are the savior, that we are the answer, then there is nothing Modi can do, nothing Trump can do to stop us. That is empowerment. That is democracy. That is the truth. So let us stand tall, not as victims of devils, but as citizens of nations whose power is greater than any throne, any crown, any so-called leader who forgets his duty. Because in the end, my friends, the story of our future is not written by Modi, not by Trump, not by any devil. It is written by you. Now, when I speak of renewal, I don't just mean fixing broken policies or replacing bad leaders. Renewal is deeper than that. Renewal is about cleansing the spirit of a nation. Renewal is about healing wounds that devils have carved into our communities. Renewal is about making sure that our children inherit a future brighter than our past. Think about America today. Think about the divisions, the anger, the corruption that Trump left behind. My promise of renewal is not about Barack Obama coming back with a magic wand. It's about all of us choosing to restore truth, choosing to restore trust, choosing to restore justice. Because America can only be renewed when Americans decide that democracy is worth defending again. Think about India today. Think about the fear and hatred that Modi has sown. My promise of renewal is not about one man from across the ocean saving India. It's about the Indian people reclaiming their dignity, rejecting division, and demanding leaders who serve the many, not the few. Renewal is not given, it is earned. Renewal is not delivered, it is built. Now, renewal requires courage. It requires us to admit what went wrong. It requires us to face hard truths about inequality, about injustice, about corruption. But renewal also requires hope. The belief that no matter how far we've fallen, we can rise again. When I say America can be cleansed, I do not mean we erase our history. I mean we learn from it. When I say India can be renewed, I do not mean we destroy what makes India great. I mean we protect it from those who twist it for selfish ends. Renewal is not about revenge, it is about rebirth. And here's the promise: when devils are driven out, when division is defeated, when corruption is challenged, the light that shines is brighter than anything that came before. That is what I believe for America. That is what I believe for India. That is what I believe for every nation fighting against the darkness of false leaders. So let us not be afraid of renewal. Let us embrace it. Let us build it. And let us promise to pass on to our children a world where the devils of today are remembered not as conquerors, but as the reason people stood up and made tomorrow better. My friends, there are values that bind us together across oceans, across borders, across languages and faiths. Values that are bigger than any political party, bigger than any one nation, bigger than any devil who seeks to divide us. What are these values? They are democracy, dignity, justice, compassion, truth. These are not American values alone. They are not Indian values alone. They are human values. They are universal. Modi may claim to speak for India, but when he spreads division, he betrays India's spirit. Trump may claim to speak for America, but when he spreads lies, he betrays America's promise. But the people who still believe in compassion, the people who still believe in fairness, the people who still believe that every human being has worth, they are the ones who keep these values alive. And that is why universal values are stronger than devils. Because devils come and go, empires rise and fall, leaders rise and fall, but values endure. They endure when people fight for them. They endure when mothers teach their children to be kind. They endure when citizens refuse to bow to corruption, when workers refuse to give up hope, when neighbors refuse to hate one another. So let us remember this: Modi cannot erase justice. Trump cannot erase truth. No devil can erase compassion. Because those values live not in palaces, not in parliaments, not in presidential mansions. They live in the human heart. And if enough hearts carry those values, no force on earth can destroy them. That is the power of universal values. That is the promise of humanity. And that is why, no matter how dark the night may seem, I believe the light of these values will outlast every devil. And I want you to feel, not just think. Because speeches are not just for the head, they are for the heart. And when I speak of devils, when I speak of renewal, when I speak of empowerment, I am not here to leave you afraid. I am here to leave you inspired. Yes, the devils are powerful. But we are not powerless. We are not alone. We are not weak. We are stronger together than any devil is alone. That is why I raise my voice with rhythm, why I repeat words, why I build to a crescendo. Because I want you to feel the energy of hope. I want you to feel the fire of courage. I want you to walk out of here not saying, "What a nice speech," but saying, "I must act. I must stand. I must fight for something better." A motivation is not about ignoring fear. It is about facing fear with faith. Motivation is not about pretending devils do not exist. It is about declaring that they will not win. Motivation is not about one man promising miracles. It is about millions of people believing in themselves again. So hear me clearly. We are not victims. We are victors in the making. We are not defined by Modi. We are not defined by Trump. We are defined by the choices we make, the unity we create, the courage we show. That is the motivational tone. That is the heartbeat of hope. And that is why I will never stop saying it. Yes, we can. Finally, my friends, it comes down to this. What will we do? Because speeches mean nothing if they do not move people to act. We can call Modi a devil. We can call Trump a devil. But if we leave here tonight and do nothing, then the devils keep winning. If we complain but never vote, if we grumble but never organize, if we curse the darkness but never light a candle, then we are complicit in our own defeat. So I am calling you to action. I am calling Americans to vote, to stand, to defend democracy. I am calling Indians to rise, to resist, to reclaim their nation from division. I am calling young people everywhere to believe that their voice matters. The call is simple: do not wait for another leader. Be the leader. Do not wait for change to come. Be the change. Do not wait for hope to arrive. Carry it in your heart and share it with the world. Because when people act together, devils fall. When people stand united, tyrants tremble. When people believe again, nations are reborn. So tonight I ask you, will you act? Will you stand? Will you rise? Because the great devil debate is not about who is number one or number two. It is about whether humanity itself will step up and take its rightful place above the devils of our age. Yes, we can. Yes, we must. And yes, we will. My friends, as I leave you tonight, I want you to remember this simple truth. No devil, no division, no darkness is greater than the light that lives within each of us. Modi may try to divide India. Trump may try to corrupt America. But together, united by hope, by courage, by compassion, we can overcome them all. The future does not belong to fear. It belongs to the people who dare to believe in better. So keep standing, keep fighting, keep hoping. And know this, our best days are still ahead. Yes, we can. Thank you.